Welcome to the Universal Broadcasting Network's Hit Afternoon Show, bringing you the latest in music news, artist interviews, and more, with your hosts, Lauren Dair and Sean Lusk. This is the Music Project.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Lauren Dair, and I am all alone in studio today. Adam is off in France living it up and having fun. So this is the Music Project. I'm going to be hanging out here for the next 2 weeks by myself. So get ready for a lot of me, and hopefully I can pull this off by myself. Welcome again to the Music Project. It is a lovely Sunday here in Los Angeles, California. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Music Project UBN. You can also follow us on Facebook at the Music Project. Basically, Google the Music Project Radio. It's there. Also, follow us on iHeartRadio. We have our podcast live on iHeartRadio, and so if you search The Music Project, we'll pop up under podcasts. You can save us. You'll get updates every time there's a new episode. It's super cool, and it's a good way to keep in touch with what we're doing. If there's any artists or any guests that you are super interested in and you want us to try to contact and get on the show, send us a message. DM us on Facebook or Twitter, and we will get right on that. So today we have a very awesome artist who is sitting in studio, and I love when we have in-studio artists because it's like, I don't know, it's more personal rather than having a phone interview. And he is all the way from Florida. We have Mr. Greg White Jr. in studio. How are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles, that's for sure.
So you're from Florida originally, right?
Well, originally, I was born in Texas.
Okay.
Lived in Virginia for a little ways, but it was always between Chesapeake, Virginia, and Tampa, Florida. So I always consider Tampa, Florida my home.
Yeah. And growing up in Florida is actually very different from California. Like, a lot of people kind of compare them, but it's two totally different worlds. I don't know why.
Florida is Los Angeles, little sister.
Yeah.
Or California, rather. Florida is definitely California's little sister. Little more muggy.
Just a little bit. Right now it's a little more wet.
Yeah.
Thinking about everybody who is in Florida right now with all the hurricanes and everything that's going on right now. But you are out in California. You are staying dry.
I am staying dry.
Ridiculously hot and gross because California is on fire while the rest of the country is underwater.
Getting soaked by hurricanes, yeah.
Yeah. It's like a crazy dynamic. Like, the entire West Coast is just on fire. Like, Oregon and Washington and everywhere else. Like, there are these huge flames, and then you have Texas and you have Florida and all these like small islands that are just getting flooded.
Yeah, California's like, share some water, bro.
Right. Well, we'll send some fire your way. Like,
we'll
come get us wet.
Water.
Yeah, ridiculous. But we're not here to talk about the weather. So let's start kind of back into the beginning when you first got started in music. Was it something that you picked up on your own? Was it something that your family was really involved in? And when did you decide, okay, this is something that I really want to do as a career?
Yeah, that's a good question. Early on, I think it was always country music radio, but also kind of my tendency towards singing. I liked to sing. I was involved in church choir and kids choir and all that kind of stuff. I went to a Christian school, so choir was like a mandatory subject that we always had to study. And and once I started having like little bits of success, like it'd have awards that were given out at the end of the year, and got best male vocalist a couple years in a row, and and then I kind of just started taking towards like, okay, well, I can sing, I really enjoy it, but then it was like also kind of the mix of like country music radio making its way into my life, because my dad listened to a lot of country music, classic rock, things like that, and I just tended towards the country music side of things. So I would learn the songs, sing the songs, and then start making them my own, and that was kind of thing that was early on. Like, I loved poetry. And so, kind of a mix of all three of those things, I started kind of being like, all right, well, I'm going to, think of these lyrics in my head and I'm going to sing them, even though I didn't know how to play the guitar yet, and then my mom would, I'd be singing on the way to, baseball practice or something. And, my mom would, turn down the radio and go, I want to hear you sing louder, that kind of thing. And which was kind of a story that's kind of stuck with me through some of my songwriting and also through my performance career and stuff like that. I was like, all right, just, sing louder, keep writing, keep, showing yourself and stuff like that, believe in yourself, do those kind of things. And so that kind of just encouraged me to get a little bit more serious about my writing, actually put the words down on paper. And then didn't pick up a guitar until I was like 22 years old, so late. Yeah, and didn't get serious about learning the guitar until probably, a few years after that. And then once I had actually, started constructing my first, would consider possibly commercial country songs, with the right structure and all that kind of stuff. Then it got more serious for me. I started liking, how I was improving on the guitar. I started liking, the structure of the songs and the phrasing of the songs that I was writing a lot better. Felt more confident to show those songs to people, and kind of just accelerated from there. When I was in the Navy, I decided that I was going to take on music, country music full time, and or rather, me and my wife decided.
It's a joint effort at that point.
Yeah, it is. You need that support. But and when I did that, I dove headfirst into the deep end. Started adopting, professional techniques towards songwriting. Structuring songs with better melodies and things like that, and then. And here I sit,
Yeah,
first
for
studio
sure.
album done, and next one underway.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think a lot of times with songwriting, it's something that's almost like they're like little mini breakthroughs. Like I don't know how to describe it because you can work on it and you do it, and eventually you write something. You're like, whoa, this is really good. Like this is the next step. Or like I remember the first time I went to Nashville and did co-writes, and I would go, oh wow, like I never thought about doing that before, and you kind of like change your perspective, and it's literally just one song after another, and
absolutely.
It starts as bad, decent, oh really good, then you write another bad one. Like I mean, you go back and forth, and then you have these little mini breakthroughs where you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like that why does this work?
Yeah, that sounds original or whatever. And I mean sometimes a lot of times you're writing and you almost feel like you're writing in vain because the right idea isn't coming to you, or the chords are just kind of cliche, and you're kind of stuck in this like, oh man, this is kind of cool, but this is kind of just another one of those things that everybody writes, but then you might get into a rewrite, or what happens to me sometimes, I call a blessing from heaven, is you're laying in bed, you're about to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden lyrics start coming. Bam, bam, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, I gotta write it. I gotta get a pen and a paper, and you're writing this down, and you're like, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is really good, and then sometimes barely needs even a rewrite, and then you maybe got a cool melody, maybe cool chord progression, fresh melody, things like that, and then you can take that to your team and go, hey, check this out, how can the bass player make this better, and how can we rewrite little things to tweak and make better. It's just you get little blessings like that every once in a while, which is cool.
Yeah, I've talked about it on the show before, and I remember I watched TED Talks occasionally, mostly for school and things like that. And I remember I had to watch one for my English class, and I was talking about the idea of genius and how, how you work with your environment. And we had the whole class was basically determining what is genius and how we work with it. But this one lady who was the author of Eat, Pray, Love, her name is escaping me right now. She said that her idea of genius was literally like an invisible little fairy goblin thing that kind of like sits around you and when you're writing and occasionally gives you those little gifts and you have to work with it. You have to work with your environment. And so it's, it seems very unopportune sometimes when you're like in the shower or you're in your car and you're like, I don't have a musical instrument. I can't do anything. But with technology now, it's so great because you have voice memos and you can like, you can do it on your notepad and just type it down so you have it there. But it comes at the most strange random times, and I think the more that you work on it, the more that just happens because your brain is just kind of always searching for things in your environment to work with.
I've had to pull over on I-5, right over here, coming from LA to San Diego, or, I took a UCLA class when I was stationed in San Diego for 3 months, and there was times when I had to pull over to the highway. I was like, oh my God, I got these lyrics coming,
right.
and then you just grab your notes on your smartphone and just start typing them out, and when you get done, you're like, okay, it's safe to get back on the highway,
And then you drive a little ways, you're like, wait, I know how the preacher's going to go.
Over, let's go do it over again, that kind of thing, pulling on and off the highway,
Working on the road, that's what you got to do. So, starting out, doing your music and kind of, slowly kind of going this progression of, wow, I really like this, I really want to do this as a career. Who were some of the artists that you were listening to that were really influential to you?
I'd have to say, like, at the time, I was coming through my 20s and stuff like that. I was very stuck in traditional country music, and I really liked that. We're talking like Alan Jackson, Brooks and Dunn, even classic country like Waylon and Willie, but when I started picking up the guitar and actually, getting into a more professional song structure, my biggest influence, I have to say, is Kenny Chesney, just because his style of, he's a country boy from Tennessee. I'm a country boy from the dirty South, and we both love the islands. Like, just love the islands. If we don't have cowboy boots on, we got flip-flops on. It's just the way it. And I'm so like that. If you're not finding me out, riding a horse, you're finding me lounging on a beach somewhere, or trying to surf, more like falling, but things like that. So I mean, Kenny Chesney for sure. When Zach Brown came out, they were so eclectic, and I loved how they would go from stuff that was pretty mainstream country to like just hillbilly stuff to now with their their albums coming out. They're all over the place. You got island music and big band stuff and even rock, and just they don't care. They just write whatever's on their heart. And so that was a huge influence for me. I'm like, that kind of affirmed the fact that, I have the freedom to write whatever I want. You know what I mean? Yeah, the music man can go, well, we're just not looking for that today. You know what I mean? Because, you really can. You can write whatever you want, and so Zach Brown, definitely a big, and then Jason Aldean. I'm a huge rock and roll guy, I mean, everything from, classic rock to, like heavy metal, some screamo stuff, and that I really love incorporating, into my country music, just like Jason Aldean kind of, started off real cool with the kind of the heavier rock riffs, and then Brantley Gilbert's doing some of that stuff today, which I find really cool, and so I'd say kind of those that island country, traditional country, and then also the rock country. I really love those things, and so those are really my major influences today when I'm writing. Most of the time I tend towards one or the other.
So, curious question, because living out in California, there's not a lot of country out here.
Right.
I do spend a fair amount of time in Nashville, and it's funny because when I'm here, I don't really listen to country that much. I listen to I guess like classic country. Like I listen to some Johnny Cash and Loretta Lynn, and Willie Nelson, things like that. Not a big country scene out here. When I go to Nashville, I'm totally 100% like because it's everywhere. Like
when in Rome.
There is nowhere you can't escape it. And I don't say that in a bad way, but like every restaurant, every bar, there's a band playing. For you, what is it about country music that you just love? Is it the songwriting aspect? Is it the musicality? Is it what is it for you that has really drawn you to that?
I think it was just what you directly identify with. So when you hear the lyrics, you're like, that's me, and so anytime you can personally relate to something, you're really gonna identify with that a little bit more. And I think country music really did that for me as a young guy, and then it kind of just nurtured, and then it was kind of the way of life that I fell into, and kind of just always found my crowd in the country, and so country music was always around. And fortunately, there's a mood. There's a song for every mood, and, some of those songs are so real and they speak to you, stuff like that. The big thing, like, with rock music, there's a song for every mood too, but a lot of times I'm like, I don't even know what they're saying,
Right.
The lyrics don't make any sense to me. I like them, but,
That makes sense.
But I think that's a real draw to country music, maybe for a lot of people.
It's the storytelling aspect.
Yeah. Early, I'd say, like, coming out of the 90s into the early 2000s, a lot of people's complaint with country music was really the whininess, the songs about despair, and the
That's
steel
my
guitar
favorite.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I always dug that. I was like, yeah, well, it matched my mood. But there's also lots of songs about just happiness and life and love and exciting and dancing and party and whatever. There's any type of song that you want, really matches your style in particular. So I think that's really what always, drew me and kept me into country music. And I think the love of that really just and my inclination towards that with my talents and gifts God gave me, I kind of was just like, yeah, I like doing this.
Right.
So,
Like, it just didn't make sense for you to go do metal music. Like, it just didn't fit for you.
Yeah, it just didn't fit right. Sometimes I tried to write rock. Sometimes I tried to write anything, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, this isn't really working out as well as I thought it would. It's just my inclinations towards that. My talent's not there, and that's okay, But it's funny. I'm also a big fan of EDM, and I can actually write EDM music. So it's like,
That's so funny.
yeah, it's really.
I think the hard thing, because for me, I always kind of, again, lean towards older country or folk music. Like,
Right.
I love Bob Dylan, and like
Absolutely.
even newer artists like Mumford and Sons, and Lumineers, and
Oh yeah.
bands like that. I'm really passionate about. I think that what my thing is with country is that a lot of artists now, it's not. I don't identify as country music. I
Right.
identify it as hard rock, like, because a lot now I'm like hearing like country songs with rap verses
Oh, yeah.
and things like that. And I know that's that's the thing, but I'm always like, when I think of country, that's not what I think of. I
Right.
think
No,
I think there's so
absolutely.
much genre bending going on right now
Sure.
that everyone's like, okay, where does this fall?
Where's the line drawn?
right.
Yeah, in the 1940s and 50s, it was kind of a thing going on with country music where Nashville was kind of blending, big string sections and kind of these plush background vocals and stuff like that, and kind of blending that to kind of smooth out the honky tonk sound of country music to make it more palatable to pop music listeners.
Right.
Since the fall of record sales with like Napster and file sharing and blah blah blah, and streaming services now kind of taking over in the music industry, kind of figuring out how to rise back up, so obviously, along with record sales, money went down, and now the music industry is finally turning it around, and we're finally seeing this this rise, up, and country music, really had to find a way to to deal with that. And I think it was it's the exact same thing that happened in the 40s and 50s, that country music had to blend, other aspects of other genres into the music to make it more palatable to pop listeners. And we're selling a lot of songs, and there's a lot of artists that are very successful with people who, I can't tell you, there's more in the coming out of the 90s into the early 2000s, most people were like, I don't like country because it's depressing and the steel guitar, I just can't stand that sound. Now they're more often than not, people are like, man, I never used to listen to country music, but man, ever since Jason Aldean, and ever since Luke Bryan, and ever since Old Dominion, all these really great artists, they're taking pop listeners and pulling them into the country music genre. And now these people are buying albums, streaming music, and going to country music at concerts,
Right.
and which is kind of cool if you think about it. I don't get too heavy into like hip hop, mixing hip hop into country and stuff like. But that just doesn't appeal to me. But if it does to another artist, by all means, there's definitely some great artists that are making a living doing it. Colt Ford, the other name's escaping me, but yeah, it's happening, you know, and that's a great thing for country music. The classic country music lovers still have their icons to listen to, and believe it or not, there's still Texas country that's going strong in that genre, you know, so which is cool.
And I think it's also interesting looking at like a lot of, I don't know how to define, I guess, pop country, because like Taylor Swift, when she first came out, was pop country, and then from her second album on, it was all pop. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, she just released her first pop album. I'm like, just because there was a guitar on one song does not mean that it was a country album. But I feel like there's a lot of that now, and a lot of people who will take that influence, or they'll have a very country sounding chorus mixed with whatever, and I think that it's trying to implement that. And I know that when I actually go line dancing, which is really funny because again, we don't have country music in California. That's like not something that we do. But I know when I go line dancing, like everybody is so into it, and there's I don't know a lot of the music, but I will recognize things that I hear on the radio or from friends or whatever. And it seems like it's just a very community driven type of music.
Absolutely.
Like I think you have your pockets of people, because we had a country band that was on a few months ago, and it's funny because he was born and raised in Santa Monica, and you would think that he was born, in the heart of Texas.
Oh, sure.
And just the way that he dresses, and the way that he talks, and the way that he acts, and it's such, it's such a big community.
Absolutely.
So when you can find those pockets of people that are really into it, then it's really cool.
Yeah, and you definitely get the the areas like folks that are native Californians that right now they're writing and singing country music. It's California country, no matter what they're singing, no matter if it sounds like Willie Nelson, who's a Texan, or, if it sounds like, Britney Spears. I think she came out of Florida. Whatever, it's all California country, and then
that's
when
a genre
you go to
in
Nashville,
itself.
When you go to Nashville, it's Nashville country, and then you've got people in Texas that are doing Texas country, and they're like, you mentioned Nashville, and they melt into the floor, and they're like, don't compare me to that.
Right.
So it's kind of just one of those things, and you're absolutely right. It's so community driven, and it's almost like we have like different dialects in country music, which is really great, and
like you can tell where they come from,
kind of stuff, and micro genres and all this other kind of which is, it makes it really interesting, and when you can pull that many people into the music, it exposes them to other things they may not have known they would ever like, you know? And, it's definitely a great community to be a part of.
For
Absolutely.
Sure, definitely. Well, let's go ahead and take a listen to one of your songs.
All right.
The first song that I have loaded up here is Fireball. Please don't tell me that this is a cover of the Pitbull song. Otherwise, I'm going to get up and walk out of the room.
No.
Okay. Just double checking. Just wanted to make sure. Tell us a little bit about Fireball.
So I really wanted to write a cool country dance song, kind of a party anthem type song, and I really wasn't looking to make it too complex. So I really just started writing some real simple lyrics, and they came to me, did a few rewrites on it, and then took it to my producer, and he did an amazing job, with the vision that I had of making it a party anthem song. And this song actually hit #1 on local radio in Tampa, which I'm super proud of. And it's just a really fun song to sing. It's definitely my top requested song from fans when I'm out, doing shows around the Southeast and stuff.
It's your
like
anthem.
That. It's a party anthem for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and take a listen to Fireball by Greg White Jr.
There's a place I go when the work is done, have some fun and feel like #1. No tears in your beer, just wanna make that clear. There's a big ass fine for whining when you're in here. Just head up at the bar and reach the stars. Fireball, fireball. Take a shot and crank the music up to 10. Fireball, a fireball.
We are back on the Music Project with Greg White Jr. We are hanging out here in studio. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Music Project UBN. You can also like us on Facebook, The Music Project. Send all your requests our way. If you want to ask a question live on air, feel free to give us a call. Our number is 323-284-7826. Again, that number is 323-284-7826. All right, so we're back. So we talked a little bit about writing and how things can kind of come up in the most unopportune times and you deal with it. I want to talk a little bit more about your writing recording process and how that works. So kind of just walk us through, for you, when you write a song, how does it go from step A to step Z? Okay. You know, does it start with music? Does it start with lyrics? Do you self do a demo? How, just kind of take us through the process of how one of these songs gets from beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it can happen a lot of different ways, but typically, if it doesn't just get dropped on my head from above. So, I'll get into these co-writes, and I always love to co-write because you've got multiple people in the room mixing the pot. Mm-hmm. And ideas are flying, and that's fantastic. When I'm sitting alone, a lot of times I can stall, and I don't like to stall. I feel like I'm wasting my time. So I usually just go into a co-write, and we'll write. We'll write words. We'll write a lot of words. Mm-hmm. I picked up a trick from Mr. Brent Baxter. He's a songwriter out in Nashville, and he said he's got when he starts his songwriting, he puts the name of the songwriters up top and whatever, and then his next section is called the Boneyard, Brent's Boneyard or whatever, and so mine would be Greg's Boneyard, and he just starts writing below that line. Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever comes to mind, and he's like, write. He's like, write more than 200 words, write more than 500 words, whatever it takes to get the cliche stuff out. Mm-hmm. The stuff that you always hear that you're just going to regurgitate. Right. And then everything after that 200, 500 words is going to be new, fresh, fun stuff. And, write everything. So for me, I write, my 200 words, but I also write who, what, when, where, why. Mm-hmm. And I write anything. If I'm writing a song about a guy being on a tractor and then, going to the beach or whatever, I write who's in the song, who are the characters in that music video, and then when's it happening? Fall, spring, summer, daytime, nighttime, where, is it on the islands? Is it, is it in Texas? Is it there? Is it in another country? Whatever, and start really developing kind of a storyline. I also write very visually. So as I'm writing my song and structuring my song, I am literally mapping out a music video, which is something that I can tell you it works.
I'm sure.
Mix visual with your lyrics. I mean, if you're a writer and you get stuck, imagine what the music video of that is going to be to that song that you're writing, because every song should have a music video. What's it look like? Who's in it? What's everybody doing?
I love that, yeah.
And that really helps the process. Now, a lot of times you might get stuck with like fresh rhythms and stuff like that. So I have apps on my phone that, if I'm like, all right, well, I don't really know how the structure of this line should go, or how, what's the mood of this song going to be, up tempo, mid tempo, low tempo, whatever. I'll kind of just start flipping through different drum beats on the apps on my phone to get some kind of inspiration. And then that'll also help me with, making sure that each line, each verse, each chorus is structured well and flows well, after, going after a rhythm and finding the rhythm of my song, because a lot of times, it almost comes naturally where the song wants to go, you know. And I'll start saying the words to, you know, to the rhythm. And that's another thing too. If you got a song written down and you want to find out what the rhythm should be, just start saying the words. Find the natural rhythm inside of what you've written, and that can help you find a rhythm too. And I've used that trick quite a few many times. And then typically I'll grab my guitar and I'll start trying to figure out something that's interesting, you know, that inspires a neat melody or whatever. And then once I feel like, okay, well, this is really cool, this is fresh, you know, whatever, this makes me feel good, and all the co-writers are like, you know, thumbs up, we'll typically do, you know, a work tape of it, you know, you know, grab a, let's see if I got it in my pocket. Now, you know, you mentioned, you know, the voice memos.
Right.
You know, just grab that with your phone, you know, set it, sing the song. Once you've got it down to where you're not making mistakes, you know, put that out to your fans, you know, your closest fans, your friends and family and stuff like that, and be like, hey, you know.
Get input.
No kidding, you know, what do you think of this song, you know? My wife is my number one critic. And anytime I write something, I go to her. I said, hey, baby, if I put this song out and it don't make us no money, you didn't do me no favors. Do you like it or not? And if she goes, no, that song sucks, then I know I need to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
You know, but, you know, and then when she goes, hey, that's actually a really cool song, you know, then I'll take that and I'll like, all right, let's push this off to some other fans and, you know, maybe get into the studio and do a little, you know, more kind of a rough work tape. You know, which is I have a studio in my house, so, you know, we can just do that. And then I'll push it to more fans, stuff like that, maybe put it on YouTube, you know, see what the reactions, see how many people are interacting with the song, promote it a little bit. And then, you know, after a few weeks have gone by and I still like the song and more people are getting excited about it and stuff like that, I'll consider putting it out as a single.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to separate you from your art, for sure. Because, I mean, there's so many people involved that people don't even realized, you know, every person that had to proofread and, you know, listen through and go, okay, hey, this doesn't make sense, or whatever it is. And it's really hard, especially when you write something you love and then you show it to someone and they're like, it's okay. And you're like, but no, you don't hear it because it's, you know, it's my baby. I always compare it to like being a child.
There's gonna be songs that you yourself fall in love with, and that's the only person that's gonna like it.
Yep.
And you gotta deal with that, you know. And especially if you're trying to do music professionally and not just kind of like cool hobby, you know. If you want to do it commercially, you have to accept that fact.
Or songs that you write that you think are okay, and everyone's crazy about them, and you're like, all right, well, I guess I gotta
put it out. You gotta put it out because you know what? When it comes down to it, those are your fans. You got to give them what they want. If they're paying your bills,
right? You
know what I mean. They're buying albums and they're buying merch and they're coming to your shows and stuff like that. You got to give them what they want. And that's even why I put iffy songs out there. You know, I mean, I put things like, I mean, even Fireball. Like I put 10% of the effort of that song as I did with my co-writers on Fullest Life. You know, which is also an album, and I get that requested way more times, you know what I mean? And you know, so it's kind of just one of those things where I love Fireball, sure. Fullest Life is a you know, a song that's like near and dear to my heart, you know. But you give the fans what they want.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. I mean, I did a show last week, and I remember I was putting my set together, and I was like, I'm gonna just throw this old song in there that like I haven't played in forever. I need another song, and so I threw it in there, and I did it as the last song on my set. And I had so many people come up after and go, that song is amazing. That's so great. I'm like, I have not thought about that song in years. And then you're like, you have to record, you have to do whatever. And so then you have that part where you're like, okay, well, now I have to like kind of go reevaluate. Because for me, it's not that personal. It's kind of something I just kind of chugged out, you know, and it came out. And it's really interesting, like seeing what people gravitate towards and what they're attracted to. But let's listen to Fullest Life. Speaking of, tell us a little about this song, because it has a really deep personal meaning to you.
Yeah. So I'm a veteran of the United States Navy, and even before, my pleasure. Thank you for your support. Yeah, you know, and even before I was going into the military, you know, veterans in the military, and you know, just very patriotic, and definitely, you know, fully support my veterans. And to all the veterans out there who might be listening, thank you so much for your service. You know, I had a friend of mine in San Diego who was looking for a song for her book trailer. You know, she had written a book called After, and she was looking for a song to put because I was like, okay, well, you know, I didn't know books had trailers like movies have trailers, you know. I was like, wow, that's cool. And she's looking for a song for that, and she wanted something original. So, you know, and the book After is about 8 Marine veterans who, you know, bounced back after the war. I mean, after being, you know, tragically injured in war, you know, and what they were doing, you know, post the war to move on with their lives. And so, you know, I was very inspired by that notion, you know. And, you know, so when we were writing Fullest Life, my 2 co-writers, Mark Charles Hattersley, who's also my producer, and Ron Elliott, who's the keyboard for my band, Desert Edge, we got together and yeah, we churned out this song, and it, you know, took, you know, multiple rewrites, and we wanted to get it perfect because we knew that, you know, just the meaning behind the song was just so, you know, kind of precious to all of us. And, you know, we really wanted to help convey that message that, you know, there's life after that tragedy. You can come home, you know, you can move on with life, and you're not alone doing it. Right. That's the biggest thing. You are not alone doing it. There are so many people who support, you know, if you're listening, who support you, and you are not alone. And I'm one of those people, and this is one of those songs that I just hope that when someone listens to it, they're inspired by it to live, you know, a full life after any type of tragedy, you know.
Yeah. Wow, I love it. All right, let's take a listen to Fullest Life by Greg White Jr.
They sent me too close to hell to fight the good fight. Now I'm here with the wounds of war. It ain't sitting right. I got a stirring in my spirit, a feeling in my bones. I got a chance they didn't get. I made it home. I'm gonna get on up, gonna take a lap, gonna get my boy to his football game. We'll cheer him on and laugh. Gonna hold the girl that I love most in the world. I made it through the toughest fight. Now I'm gonna live the fullest life. I'm not a mountain climber, so maybe just a hike, or I'll ride clear across America on my bike. I got a stirring in my spirit, a feeling in my bones. I live for prayer for the warriors who haven't made it home. I'm gonna get on up, gonna take a lap, gonna throw some poles in that old John boat and hit the lake with Dad. We'll take away big stories from the day and how we fought the toughest fight. I'm doing this for my brothers who didn't make it home. Get on up, gonna share a smile, gonna take my little girl by the hand and walk her down the aisle. I'm lifted up by a family built on love. I made it through the darkest night, 'cause they're right here by my wanna live the fullest life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fullest life.
We are back live with Greg White Jr., and he's going to play live for us. Yay! I love when people play live. It happens every once in a while, and I love it because it's, you know, it's a little bit more intimate. It's fun in studio. If you want to check your guitar real quick, make sure I got you in here. Perfect. If you want to hear it better, feel free to grab the headphones. And then, do you want reverb at all? Like a little bit?
Maybe a little bit.
All right.
Maybe a touch.
Just a smidge.
A little tiny smidge of reverb never hurts anything.
Perfect. Alrighty, so tell us a little bit about the song that you're going to play.
This is going to be my next single. We've got a lot of great feedback from fans on this song called Four-Wheel Drive, and I know that seems really cliche, a country music artist singing a song about four-wheel drive, but it's got a fun story. There's actually a dirt road outside of my neighborhood that is actually, the road itself is called Four-Wheel Drive. And I was like, somebody was really unique really creative that came up with that road name. So I was like, that's a country song, it's got to be, And, so when I started writing it, I was just like, okay, this is a really cool spin on something that is usually very cliche in country music. And I added a lot of very personal life experiences and obviously some creative stuff, but just had a lot of fun, writing in it. It's definitely one of my dirt road anthem type thing,
Right.
And just had a lot of fun writing this with a guy out in that I met in Nashville, but it's actually from my hometown in Tampa. The neighboring town, St. Pete. But yeah, I met him out in Nashville, and we got together one day, and we were just trying to figure out whether or not we could write together, and we came up with this tune, and it was kind of one of those things that we were just like, we put out the fans, and it hit, and we weren't sure, we weren't really super confident about it at first, but then it just kind of took off, and everybody wanted to hear it, and so we just ran with it, and then we're about to start a big campaign for it to be my next single. The next single will definitely be released by February.
Awesome.
Doing a whole new merch line and everything like that too on Four-Wheel Drive. That's how big it's been with fans and stuff like that too. So it's pretty cool.
That's great. Awesome. We'll take it away whenever you're ready.
All right.
Heavy ruts and rumbles took more than a few tumbles. When knobby tires on my bike weren't enough, it wasn't quite refined. Barbed wire fences and a power line where my hands got dirty and I got tough. Through the rolling farm hills and cypress trees, this country boy life is the one for me. Down on Four-Wheel Drive is the place I grew up. Them city boys come in here and they always getting stuck. But old man Nelson is there to pull them out. When things go south, no cell phones needed, just a fishing pole and freedom. First deer, first fight, first fish, first kiss. The best place I know to have the time of my life, down on Four-Wheel Drive. And hey, the camping's always free. And hey, I got friends and family still close enough to borrow a cup of milk. I got a pond close by for swimming, and a rope in the tree for swinging, and an inner tube to just lay around and chill. through the rolling heartland and tall pine trees. All the best things in life don't cost a thing. Out on four-wheel drive is the place I grew up. The city boys come in here and they always getting stuck. But old man Nelson has had to pull them out. When things go south, no cell phones needed, just a fishing pole and freedom. First deer, first fight, first fish, first kiss. Best place I know to have the time of my life. Down on four-wheel drive is the place I grew up. Them city boys come in here and they always getting stuck. But Willie Nelson is there to pull 'em out. When things go south, no cell phones needed, just a fishing pole and freedom. First deer, first fight, first fish, first kiss. Best place I know to have the time of my life. And if you ask me, pure paradise, I'm out on four-wheel drive. I'm out on four-wheel drive. Come out to four-wheel drive.
Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with me on this Sunday and taking time out of your day to come chat about music and the thing that you love.
Always a pleasure.
So, new album, where can people find it? Where will it be?
So it's going to be on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, anywhere you can listen to music online. The only thing probably not Pandora. Also
never
my
say
website.
never.
Yeah, it'll be on there eventually. But also my website, gregwhitejr.com, and that's just Greg, white like the color, jr.com. And actually right now, for a limited amount of time, you can go on SoundCloud and actually download them all for free.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you can download every song on the album for free if you like on SoundCloud. I think it's soundcloud.com/Greg White.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
And social media, everything the same as well.
Yep. Yeah, if you just Google Greg White Jr., it
You're
pops
all there.
up. It's all
You
there.
can find
Yeah, if
everything.
you go to my website, all the links to my social media is right there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
It has been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
My name is Lauren Dair, and I will see you guys next week. Next week, I am going to be in studio again by myself, and so I'm going to be talking about all my favorite sad songs, because who doesn't like sad songs? I love sad songs. So bring your tissues. We're going to have a good cry together. It's going to be great. See you guys next week.
See you guys.
In the future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.